Hello, everyone, wherever you're joining me from this morning. So, today I want to talk to you about something that doesn't get enough honest conversation in the coaching space. What happens when life changes? Not gradually, but overnight. Like you want to say suddenly, unexpectedly. One day you have a plan, a relationship, a role, a sense of who you are and where you are going. Okay. And then something happens and none of it looks the same. And everyone around you wants you to bounce back fast. Get up, arise, start doing, do something. They want you to be resilient, to find the lesson and keep moving. But nobody is talking about what is actually happening inside you during that transition, because it's transition. And that is what we're doing today. I'm giving you a framework I called shifts. And by the end of this session, you are going to have a real language, real tools, and real permission to heal the way healing actually works. So let's go. When life changes overnight, 5 moves for healing after unexpected destruction. And I call it shift. And you will shift today. Okay? Is the first one is shock. S. The first place where we start is the most people skip. And skipping it, okay, it is exactly why they stay stuck. When life changes unexpectedly, your first response is emotional shock, right? And shock is not a character flaw, it is a neurological event. I want you to know that. So, your nervous system goes into protection mode, it limits what you can process at once because the full reality is too much to absorb immediately. That is not weakness. That is your brain doing its job. But here is what happens, okay? People mistake the numbness for healing. They mistake the hyper functioning, the staying busy, the I am fine for strength. It isn't. Shock that isn't named becomes foundation you are building on, okay? Except the foundation is cracked. If the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? You know that scripture. Okay, so the first coaching move I want you to make is this: say what's happened. Acknowledge. Say what's happened. Not to perform vulnerably, you know, not for social media, but privately, honestly to yourself. My life changed. I didn't choose this. I'm disoriented. And that is real. Something happened. Something happened. That statement is not you falling apart. That statement is you choosing to start from truth instead of from performance. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Name the shock. Name it. Give it a name. So, what is that? So, we move to the second pillar, which is H. And what is that? Hidden grief must be honored. Hidden grief must be honored. I say it again. Hidden grief must be honored. Here is the one nobody talks about. And that is, you know, unfortunately, is the one that does the most quiet damage. It's the one that does the most quiet damage. When disruption hits, there is, almost always hidden grief underneath it. And hidden grief is the grief that doesn't come with a ceremony, doesn't announce itself. Nobody sent flowers for the future you lost. Nobody checks on you for the identity that quietly disappeared. Nobody holds space for the version of yourself that existed before the change. But the loss is real. You may be grieving a relationship that ended and took your sense self with it. Your sense of self with it. A career that collapsed and you don't know who you are without it. You know, many people, their identity is tied with something, with career, with the role they play, with, for women, it's misses, you know, those kind of stuff, you know. Let's not go there right now. You know, a season of life that is over and you weren't ready. Sometimes we're not ready for that change. A version of your future that will never happen now. So hidden grief ignored doesn't go away. The fact that you ignored it doesn't mean it will go away. It goes underground. It shows up as irritability, emotional flatness, overworking, or a low grade sadness you can't explain. So here is the challenge. I want you to get specific about what you are actually grieving, not the surface loss. Go underneath. What specifically are you mourning? Because until you name it, okay, you can't honor it, like I said earlier on. And until you honor it, you cannot move through it. You see, it's progressive. So hidden grief, honored, becomes wisdom. Hidden grief, ignored, becomes bitterness. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. So what is the I in my shift? Because you are shifting, okay? So the I is, you are not what happened to you. I want you to remember that. You are not what happened to you. So now the I, you know, you must identify, like we said, but identity needs to be reclaimed. So you have to reclaim your identity. Now we get to the layer, the most coaching skips over, and is the one I consider the most critical. Unexpected disruption almost always triggers what psychologists call identity disruption. The thing that changed was connected to how you define yourself. And when it is gone, okay, you don't just lose the thing, you lose your sense of who you are. Like a woman that said, don't call me Naomi, which is sweetness, call me Mara. And I remember that I have a story, like I was going through a mess and I was thinking, not that anybody said it, even though they acted it later. But at that point, I was thinking that, oh God, I felt like a trash. And I heard God quietly saying, you are not trash. I call you treasure. So you can imagine a treasure calling herself a trash. So I call myself trash. Even though people now treated me, they wanted to treat me that way, or they treated me that way. But I always remember that God told me, you're not a trash, you're a treasure. So, you know, when disruption comes, what does it do? Disruptions make you lose the thing. You lose your sense of who you are. A Naomi calling herself a Mara. That is what happens. So you start functioning from a question mark instead of a foundation. Who am I now that I'm not in that relationship? Who am I now that I don't have that title? I don't have that role. I don't have that position. Who am I now that the plan is gone? This is not an existential crisis. This is an identity recalibration, and it requires intentional work, okay? Here is what I want you to start. Separate your identity from your circumstances. Your circumstances changed overnight. There was disruption, but your values didn't change overnight. Your capacity didn't change overnight. Your character didn't change overnight. You are still the Oyindamola. You are still the treasure. You are still Naomi. Despite the fact that you lost the relationship, you lost substance, you lost investments, you lost your position, you lost, your job, you lost in that relationship. No, but your values are still there. They are intact. Your character is still there. Your capacity is still there. So what I want you to do is to go back to what remains. Okay? What do you believe about yourself that no interruption can cancel? What are you for? Not what you do, but what you stand for. What will you want to be true of you, even if the role the relationship or the plan never came back. That is your identity foundation. And rebuilding starts there, not with what you lost, but with what remains. You are not what happened to you. Reclaim it. I want to say that I'm not what happened to me. No, you are not. So, what is the F in our shift? Because I have to move. Oh my God, time. Okay. So, the F is feel forward, not backward. You know, my mentor, John Maxwell, wrote a book, Failing Forward. So, feel forward, not backward. Okay. Feel forward, not backward. Now, practically, I want to talk about how you use your emotional experience as a tool and not a trap. There's a distinction I draw in my coaching between processing and looping. Between processing and looping. So, looping is feeling your emotions without direction, cycling through the same pain, the same questions, the same regret without forward movement. You know what is called motion without movement. You are just cycling there. Looping sounds like, why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? If I just done this differently, if I, this question have no productive answer. Your brain will work on them endlessly and arrive nowhere. They will arrive nowhere. So processing otherwise sounds like, what is this season revealing about me? What do I want to be true of my life 12 months from now? What boundary, belief, or behavior does this destruction expose that I need to change? This question have traction. They use your emotional energy as fuel rather than burning it as a waste. Here is the principle that I want you to take. You don't have to stop feeling. You have to redirect the feeling forward. You don't have to stop feeling. You have to direct the feeling forward. Feel it fully and then ask a better question. Okay? That is what I call intentional emotional momentum. And it is one of the most powerful skills you can develop in a season of disruption. What do I say? Feel forward. Feel forward. Feel forward. Okay? Somebody say feel forward. Okay? We are moving. We are feeling forward. So the next one is number T, which is T. Trust the process even when it is slow. Okay? Trust the process even when it is slow. Trust it. Okay? And here is this last one. And I'm going to be straight with you because I think you deserve honesty more than you deserve motivation right now. Okay? Healing after unexpected disruption is not linear. It is not a clean upward trajectory from pain to wholeness that you just find yourself one day, you sleep and you wake up and everything is over. No, it moves in waves. It moves in spirals. You will have weeks where you feel like yourself again. And then one conversation, one date on the calendar will bring it all back. Sorry, we've all been there. I've been there. You know, some days I think, oh, this thing is over. Then one day, maybe conversation, maybe you are in a space, maybe you see someone, then everything will come back again. And let me tell you, when that happens, most people think they feel the healing process. You haven't. That is how the healing process works, okay? That's how it works. Real recovery from disruption has layers. Each time you revisit the pain, you are not going backward, you are going deeper. You are processing a layer you aren't ready to process before. Here is what I need you to trust, okay? Slow is not stuck. Progressing in healing is often invisible before it is visible. You may be doing the work, the journaling, the therapy, the coaching, the self-reflection, and see no external change yet. That doesn't mean nothing is happening. Mm-mm. It means the work is happening underneath. Trust the unseeable work. And here's the challenge I'm leaving with you. Stop measuring your healing by how fast you go back to who you were before. You don't even want to go back to you ever. You want to move, ahead. The goal is not to return, okay? The goal is to arrive at a version of yourself that is more self-aware, more grounded, and more whole than the version that existed before the disruption hit. You are not behind. You are in a process, and I want you to trust that process, okay? So, let me bring it all together. Everything that's spoken because of time. I always want to do this in 15 minutes, but most of the time, sometimes 15 minutes is just not enough. But let's just cap it, okay? So let me bring it all together for you. When life changes overnight, here is your shift. Shock is real. Name it. Don't perform past it. Hidden grief must be honored. Name what you're actually mourning. Identity needs to be reclaimed. Build from what remains, not what is gone. Feel forward, not backward. Process with intention, not in loops, okay? Trust the process, even when it's slow. Slow is not stuck. That is the work. And it's not easy, but it is possible. If this just, if this section hits home for you today, drop shift in the comments. That is how I know you receive it. And it tells me what to keep bringing to you. Share this with someone who is in the middle of an overnight change and doesn't have a language for what they are feeling. Language is the first tool. Give it to them. Subscribe. New sections drop every Saturday morning, and every one of them is assigned to do exactly what we did today. Move you from insight to transformation. I am Dr. Oyindamola Okenla. I'm a board certified master mental health coach. I'm a transformation catalyst. And this is what I do, helping people move forward. I will see you in the next section. The shift already started. Keep going. Shift. See you on Saturday. Next week, Saturday.
Are you ready to heal? Ready to grow? It's time to transform. Step into who you're meant to be.